Welcome to an episode that is all about innovation. My guest is Nelson Javier Mejia. If you search for Innovation Nelson on LinkedIn, you will definitely find him. Nelson was born and grew up in El Salvador, but he's been living in Germany for a long time by now. We will talk about his journey from Latin America to Central Europe, but the main topic of the first part of the interview is innovation and how Nelson tries to help others innovate with his company WeSpark. WeSpark is Frankfurt's first dedicated innovation agency that he officially started in the beginning of 2019. Nelson shares his thoughts on how innovation in companies can work. He talks about his specific approach to innovation. He shares steps we all can take to innovate, lessons learned in the art of startup pitching, and much more. A special note, this interview was recorded on the 12th of February 2020, when we could already see the corona crisis coming. In the second part of the interview that will be published next week, Nelson and I reflect on innovation in times of corona crisis and how we can deal with it. But for now, please enjoy the first part of my interview with Nelson Javier Mejia. Nelson, welcome. Thank you for taking the time. From where are you originally?
Hey Chris, so my name is Nelson and I come from a little country called El Salvador, which is around 10,000 kilometers away from Frankfurt, down southwest.
And what made you come to Germany?
Like the real story, summarize, when my father was 10 years old, back in 1974, he had like chickenpox for 1 or 2 weeks. I don't remember how long, but it was the same time that the soccer or football World Cup was going on in Germany. So
74,
the Germany won this year, right? 54, 74. But yeah, the thing is, before every single game, and he watched like all the games that he could on a little TV that he had as a present from family from USA. There was always like a 1 hour documentary from the city where the game was going to take place. So he watched all of them. And he was surprised because El Salvador is very different, and he had, things in his mind like, wow, like look at the roofs from the houses, they are triangular, and the streets, they don't have these like electricity cables on top, and the cars, they look so nice, and the people, they dress so differently. So he kind of fell in love to Germany. And flash forward later in life, when I came to the world, he decided that I should go to the German school so that I can one day maybe at least go once to Germany. And forward, I went to the German school. I studied in Germany. I had a little gap year in El Salvador before coming back to Frankfurt. But then, because of Lufthansa and one program called Lufthansa Pro Team, which is a really prestigious program from them, I came back to Germany. And now I'm here, now doing my own thing.
But you were at a German school in El Salvador.
Yeah.
And so you learned German from very early on.
Yeah, I was tortured with learning German from an early age. Yeah.
But I hear this fairly often from people in South America, also from Colombia, that they very early on they go to German schools or schools where they can learn German, and then when they are done with school, they come to Germany to study here. Yeah,
so what you have to think is that the quality of the education from German schools is usually way higher than the quality of educations than any like public or most other private schools in the countries. So apart from the little story that I told, so it was like a big motivation for my parents to send me there. And the second and most important thing is that Germany subsidizes around, I'm going to go like a little approximation, but it was around 80% of the whole cost of the school. So it was like basically the only good private school that my parents could afford to send me. And for them, it was really difficult to send me, and later my two sisters. But I guess it definitely paid off. I mean, I'm here. And like in the middle of the startup stage in Frankfurt.
So then in Germany you went to university, and you also had your first few real jobs, right?
Yeah, exactly. I always had like a lot of like little jobs in between, because I will go to a place and say like, hey, I want to do an internship here. Look, I don't want to get paid. But what matters to me is that I select like really specifically and to the point what I'm going to do, and I'm not gonna be serving coffee, and I mean it like literally.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you can get like early good experiences. So when I was like 18 years old and such, I was working on really, I will call it sensible topics that will impact a lot in companies, because I will come and said like, okay, you even want to have me or not? So it's kind of like using a little bit of bluff at the beginning, but the more it worked out, the more leverage I had for the next interview. So yeah.
And when did you get into innovation?
Innovation around 4 years ago. Yeah, back in 2016 when I was at Lufthansa. My mentor till nowadays, Karina Loyeven, she's from Lufthansa Systems, and she's the first person that took me in. And we had a 5-day design thinking workshop. For me, all of this was new, but I just felt like, wow, this is exactly where I should be. This is what moves me. Yeah.
And what was so fascinating for you about it? Or what did you like the most?
The first impression was the atmosphere and the attitude of the colleagues. It was really different than what I was, let's say, like not accustomed to, but what I was used to.
Yeah.
And in this moment, I just knew, like, I like how these people think. I like the atmosphere here. I like how they kind of like chill. And especially while we are doing this, like usually you will expect that the things are not moving forward, but it's actually the opposite. Things move way faster. When you're working in a more chill and unstructured way in some ways, like more chaotic but structured, I will say. Sometimes it's a mix, because you will have some little methods that brings a lot of chaos and non-structure into the process, but this is when creativity happens.
Oh, that's chaos.
Yeah. I just it's a mix of things, because you do have a process and everything, but in the structure, in the process, you bring chaos too. And everything felt right for me. And I started to have a lot of ideas on how to improve some of the methods. And eventually, Karina took me to one official European project called TACIT, like Teaching and Coaching Innovation. Mm-hmm. And there I had the opportunity to start developing and giving also feedback to how we create new innovation methods, so for the whole European Union. And this is like the real like start that took me in the whole innovation world. And then I just stood with it, and now I'm in a second project called Gamify, and the only like private guest, and then it's only like big company names. So it's kind of cool.
So you were doing innovation at a big corporation like Lufthansa in this case, but it seems like Lufthansa didn't feel like a big corporation to you, because normally people associate with big corporations that they are maybe slowly moving, and they have a lot of like fixed processes and structures. But what you describe is like it seems like a little bit of innovation freedom in a big corporation, right?
So look, when it comes to innovation culture, you can think of 3 like different types. Like when you have some sort of satellite, and some people are sitting in Berlin and they have some sort of innovation lab or hub or factory, whatever you call it, right? This is what I call exclusion at the very end. So the people that are doing the core business, they don't really get what's going on there. They just know there's something going on, but that's it. Then you have integration, and that will be like having a team, like a dedicated innovation team inside of the company that will interact with some of the people, and they are in the same building, whatever. This is more like what I believe Lufthansa, some Lufthansa companies have achieved. In particular, this is really nice. And I believe that the vision for every company that already recognized that innovation culture is important is to have not like exclusion, no integration, but real inclusion, which means imagine if every team will have somebody that is like in charge for all like for the innovation of the department. You will have somebody in marketing, somebody in accounting, somebody in top management. That's, I believe, when you already figure things out, but it's really difficult to pull off, and it takes a lot of time.
So ideally, innovation in a company is not something that happens in one specific team, but it happens across the board in the whole company. Is that what you would like call an innovation culture?
Exactly. So we will have to go a little bit into the definition of innovation. First of all, remember when we talked first before this discussion, you asked me about the difference between invention and innovation. Exactly, where invention will be coming out with something new, and usually innovation is more like coming out with something new, a product, a service, a process, but then making it successful in a market, or that it has some sort of impact. The thing about these definitions is that I don't believe they actually help anybody. There are many definitions out there, and I am super unorthodox about the definition for innovation, but I believe that they don't help anybody, because what do you do with it? So innovation is coming out with something new and doing some impact. How can you start? If you're an innovation manager, this is innovation. We want innovation. Okay, how do you start? So
it's not practical yet. Yeah,
exactly. So over the last 4 years, I've been kind of testing and going around a statement, a new definition of innovation that is more human-centric. And if I will have to summarize it in one sentence, I will say, innovation at the level of individuals is a state of mind. And it means that if you have a conglomerate of individuals, if you have a lot of people, a group, a company, a corporate, then it's a topic of culture. So innovation is a way of culture. And why do I say this? It's because I believe that everybody can be innovative for some parts of the day. So I will call it that innovation is temporary. It starts and ends. For some people, some seconds. For other people, minutes. Other people can hold it for hours. Then, 3 hours of being innovative a day. For 1 week, for everybody in the world, will definitely change the world, I will tell you. Yeah. Second thing is that it's super fragile, because whatever happens, any bad message, maybe, a fly flying around the room can just get you out of this innovation state super fast. And the third is that it's unstable. So imagine that your brain always try to build shortcuts for making things more easier. What people call getting experience in a topic, and getting experience is the moment where your brain needs to think even less and less to achieve the same things that it was doing before. So eventually, when you're getting all this experience, somebody experiences somebody that already has the solutions for the problems, but it's somebody that the learning phase is starting to decrease a little bit. And it is normal for the brain that if you are feeling super innovative and you're working on things that are completely new, it gets super stressy. It uses a lot of energy, from your body. You feel tired, like if you were working on a construction site, whatever, and maybe you were just doing a workshop. So it is normal. That is not the normal state of mind that you will be in. So your brain just wants every day to go by and that you're surviving.
Your brain might need a lot of energy, or might burn a lot of energy, because it's something new all the time, right? But can you, when you innovate, when you're in that mindset, how you said it, you can also be in flow state, right?
Yeah. So look, when you are trying to find literature or whatever, there are a lot of people that some people will say this guy is crazy talking about getting in the flow or whatever, but a lot of people come out with something similar at the very end, and that's why I go with something easy. It's more of a state of mind. It's attitude and the energy that you can maintain for some time. And so that is easier for the people hearing now how this innovative state of mind feels. It will be this day you wake up, you have some sort of pattern that will activate it. For example, mine will be waking up early and going for a run as fast as I can, and then I sit down on a bench. It doesn't matter if it's cold, if it's warm. And I will just breathe for good 5 minutes. I'm not much into meditation or whatever, but getting to the point that I'm extremely exhausted, and then just breathing for 5 minutes really opens up my mind for whatever it comes. Then I will just go shower with music. I don't hear Despacito or something, but but I don't know. There are certain songs that kind of activate me. I shower a little bit colder, a little bit shorter too. And then I skate myself to work. And believe me, the days that I do this are just like really special days. I cannot explain it, but you are so much more aware of everything that is happening. Ideas flow super fast. You're writing on a notebook and it's just filling page after page after page. And the coolest of things that once this has gone by, if you come back to see the results of this day, you will be like, wow, this is 2 weeks worth of work that happened in 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, so I am into meditation. I meditate every day, every morning and every evening. And what you just described sounds a hell of a lot like meditation. Because meditation is not only like and sitting in this pose, but it can also be something active and something that makes you more aware, more mindful. And what you just described sounds very much like it, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit similar. I don't have much experience with meditation, so that I can resume all of my experience with meditation to 1 week that I spent with some monks in a monastery here in Germany.
You did?
Yeah, it was a part of my pro team program at Lufthansa, which is super nice. So they show us how to meditate and different techniques. So I tell you, I don't have much experience, but the one that I remember is that where you will try to tense all of your muscles and then just release them. And then it's, like, I believe the head works like this as well. If you like kind of fill the head with a lot of things at once and then you just try to release it, then it can be blank. And this is how you maybe reach the open-mindedness. It's now it's empty room and you can fill it with whatever you want and try to work with these ideas on the ground, and at some point it's just like going to be back to normal.
Where was this monastery where you were?
I forgot. I have no idea. I will have to check.
No, it's fine. But fine. But do you have it in good memory? Was it good?
Yeah, I do have a good memories of it. It was quite different, but I usually am always open for alternate things, for like different experiences. And it was a lot of, in German they call it Schweigen. I don't know the word for it in English, but it's something like you have to be silent and
like a silent retreat.
Also.
Wow, I was not, super intense.
Yeah, we were not really like allowed to be talking with our colleagues, so we will have to minimize conversations to like, can I have the butter, please?
Wow. I've never done that myself, but I read a lot about it, and people say it's super, super intense. Yeah, because you're always used to like speaking, getting information, and being on a silent retreat is like really limiting the input and output, right?
Yeah, imagine it for a Latino guy.
Yeah, sure. And so your company, WeSpark, what is like the core idea of the company?
So the core idea of the company is to make innovation easy, like in one sentence. So if you attach it to what we were talking before, is helping teams and companies to reach this innovative state of mind more often. And there's a lot of things that you want to do around it. But it's like for a company, for a big corporation, it's about like finding the ways to generate this culture that allows people to be innovative for longer periods of time. I mean, if you're innovative for 5 seconds, it can change your world. You can maybe be showering and you have 5 or 10 or 15 seconds, an amazing idea. And then you grab the shampoo, put it on top, and the idea is gone. It washes with the shampoo down the drain. You forget about it, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's the end.
Yeah. And I guess the idea didn't come just out of nowhere. I guess it came in the work that you did at Lufthansa. Or how did the idea for WeSpark come about?
So first of all, like my parents, my mother and father, they have 5 companies together. Well, one of them is like the holding kind of for the other 4. They are small. Together is around like 150 employees. So that you get an idea. So I always knew that I wanted to have my own babies, as I say. And now with baby, I really mean like my own company and start my own movement, project, institution, whatever. So even before I joined Lufthansa, I actually said in my interview, at some point, maybe in 8 years or 5 years, I will have to go out of the company because I want to pursue my dream. And there was some moment when I was doing all these innovation things, I saw that I have like the energy, I have the attitude, if you see like the sort of type of person that I am, like my personality, I don't know if you know the Briggs-Myers.
I do.
Yeah.
Briggs-Myers test. Yeah.
So yeah, I will be what you call like under the diplomats. There was this thing when I was doing these innovation workshops. There was one moment where I noticed, wow, okay, I'm really good at it. I had like the energy, the attitude, and I always been like really aware since the school, because we had one subject called theory of knowledge, where we will kind of like philosophize and think about why do we exist, why are we like living, and what is our intention in life, whatever. And they made us explore a little bit about our personality. So we did this test from 16personalities.com. And
the Myers-Briggs test, yeah.
Yeah, based on the Myers-Briggs test. And it came out that at this point I was a mediator, and eventually I have been doing this test like once every year to the point that I have become a campaigner. So I changed one of the dimensions, so as to say. And for me, it's super marked. Like some people are like at 54% this. For me, it's like 85% everything. So I have, been aware of it, and I've been like working on trying to, work on my weaknesses, so as to say. But I know that for me, people mastery, like persuading others, convincing others, helping others in on a personal level, or moving groups and masses of people is what I do best. So together with the whole innovation methods that I knew and the ones that I was also developing and creating, I decided, hey, if I'm really good at this and I can convince other people, why not start a company that will mix both of these things? And if you see, the definition that we were talking about, innovation, goes well along with all this, people mastery, because I'm bringing the human back into innovation.
Yeah. So with the Myers-Briggs test that you did, it was very clear that the result was that you're a campaigner. And just to explain it for the people who don't know the test, it's like a personality test that is based on some psychological work. And the campaigner has the strengths. He's curious, observant, energetic, and enthusiastic. He's a good communicator. He knows how to relax and is popular and friendly. That's what I read on the homepage here. And I must say, I would agree. You are.
Okay, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, so would you say that these characteristics that we saw now would be a good basis, a good fundament for innovation culture? And the follow-up question would be, should people be like that, or can also be like the opposite of you? Can he also be a good innovator in a company?
Okay, so this is a quite complex question, but I'm going to try to have a rather simplistic answer for it. First things first, principles. I believe everybody should be who you are and not try to be someone else. Just be aware of the things that you are good at and the ones where you fail, so that you can try to improve on it. Period. Nothing else to add there. And then the second point, that is not around like who you are supposed to be or whatever, is that in innovation you need all sorts of people. So this one, I'm going to explain it, and I said like super simple with one method that is out there. Is called the 6 Bono hats. In principle, there's 6 hats with 6 different colors, where people, depending on the color, are supposed to react or kind of like get into a role depending on it. For example, like the red hat is only supposed to argument with emotions, the white hat only to argument with facts and data, the yellow hat is supposed to be positive, and the black one negative, and so on. There are 2 other colors, but I'm gonna stay with the last 2. Because imagine you only have a group of people, of campaigners, of people that are super positive. Let's assume that they are yellow hats, just for the sake of the argument.
Yellow hats are optimistic ones.
Yeah, optimistic ones, yeah. So everybody is positive in the group, and they are developing ideas, and then once they try to implement them, once they like start a company, whatever, it suddenly fails and nobody knows why. It's like everything was so positive, so what's going on? The thing is, then this is the moment where you need to have at least one black hat in the group that is like kind of contra-argumenting, so that people get this other perspective. It's like, okay, look, maybe I'm always the negative guy, but we should think about this, because if we don't do, then our idea doesn't work. So, I thought it's a super complex question, but I believe that everybody has a role to do, so they should stick to who they are, because they will be needed in some way.
So diversity in teams seems to be very important, right?
Yeah, and it's about balance. There's enough studies out there that prove this.
Yeah. So the concept that you mentioned is called 6 Thinking Hats, and it's by Edward de Bono. I'm just looking it up now. That's why I can recapture it like this. And the hats are, the white hat is analytical thinking, the yellow is optimistic, the red one is emotional thinking, the green one is creative thinking, the black one critical thinking, and the blue one is like processed thinking, structured thinking.
Yeah. That one is the one that regulates the whole method. It checks that every one of the other 5 hats is actually having enough time. And, if we are hearing too much positive things, then we'll say like, hey, okay, black hat, what do you think? And then expects the black hat to, contra-argument what's going on and try to be a little bit negative, just to bring enough of each role in the conversation.
That is super interesting. What other factors did you see so far that are important for innovation companies? Could be anything that comes to mind.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about possibly the biggest, most important thing. So there's 3, but I'm going to start with the most important one. I believe like the attitude / the mindset that people have is the one that if I had to choose if I have to choose someone out there between the skills and experience that this person has, the sort of knowledge, like industry knowledge that this person has, or the attitude, I will go for the person that doesn't know anything, but that has the right attitude to learn, to be open, to try, to fail, to try again, to fail again, to try until it works, or maybe to know also, it's part of the attitude to know it's like, okay, this is indeed failing, so I had to change something on it, and that it will not, grab her or himself from an idea like, no, this is not the idea that we had first, this is what we need to continue, but to decide like, okay, yeah, we're going to take half of this that we already created and we're going to bring the other half with something new and then retry again. So I believe that attitude is the most important thing, and it's the only one that you cannot really teach. You cannot go to a seminar and learn attitude, right? The only thing that you can do, and this is something that we are trying to solve with WeSpark, with our mindset change seminars, we call them, is you can hear stories, anecdotes, just like examples from other people. You can have them there, ask them questions, and just try to just be a little bit open to understand what has worked for others and how other people do it. And the only thing that, top managers or the ones that are paying for these kind of seminars can hope is that people get inspired enough so that they can, over the time, work on their own attitude and change themselves. It starts with maybe 1 week after hearing a really nice anecdote with a lessons learned that somebody thinks is like, usually I will have decided this, and this is happening unconsciously in less of a second or in 5 seconds, but usually I will have done this. But I remember last week this story from this guy, how he did it. Today I'm just gonna try different, just for the sake of doing. And this is how it starts, with little steps.
Yeah.
But attitude is definitely the most important thing when it comes to having innovation in your company, is that the people are just prepared for it.
Yeah. And when in such a mindset change seminar that you mentioned that you offer to companies, I mean, when I ask you now, of course, you don't have to explain it all or give away the secret sauce, but maybe you can explain a single component, a single module of the seminar, what exactly happens. So the people that were never to a workshop and have no idea about innovation can have a feeling for what exactly you do in the seminar.
For example, I usually mix these seminars with a specific topic. Let's say Okay, the company is aware that AI is a thing. Okay, AI is a mega trend.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, for upcuts and for shortcuts. But yeah, let's assume that this company knows that AI is going to completely rechange their industry, and people are kind of afraid about it. So anything around AI is like, oh no, here comes the devil. So in this seminar, like one single model that I will do is, okay, I will bring one really good colleague of mine that is also an entrepreneur, and he is nowadays like the chairman for the official artificial intelligence community from Hong Kong. And I will bring him to tell his story of how he started his AI company.
This is a real example?
Yeah, this is a real example.
Yeah, it doesn't sound made up.
No. And how he will, for example, like create his company, what were the principles behind it, how he survived the nuclear winters of AI, he called them, where like at each one, like 70% of all AI startups and companies disappear. And you know what I expect is that people not only to learn a little bit about the topic so that they are kind of less afraid, but also to get inspired by the story, to understand, you know, that there are opportunities behind what could look like a problem before. So it's these little principles and morals and little lessons learned that can really start changing the way how we react towards everything outside.
It's really powerful when you see somebody who did exactly what you're afraid of, or who did exactly what you don't even want to do, you know.
Yeah, I believe you sum it up in a really nice way. But I can only agree.
Interesting. Okay. Now I got a good feeling for your approach, for the mindset that you yourself use for your work at WeSpark, at your startup. But how does your approach to innovation, to helping others innovate, how does your approach differ from the approach of others?
Okay, so the most important thing that you should keep in mind first is that we make innovation easy because we are having a human-centric approach towards innovation. That's the first thing. I'm going to try to summarize what I see out there, especially here in Frankfurt. There are a lot of like innovation consultants, and I'm gonna define them in kind of a rude way, but it's just like based on reality, because I've been like not only interacting, like being a customer, being also like a member is, I was about to say a German word again, Teilnehmer, which means like a member or participant in a workshop. But, you know, I also been like seeing the bills behind, you know, and the quotes from this company. And usually what you have is like an innovation consultant is someone that is a really good strategist, and I will just say really, really good strategists, that they get sent to Berlin or, I don't know, to München to do a little certificate in something like design thinking or another framework. They come back to their companies after 2 or 3 days and boom, okay, I'm an innovation consultant now. I do innovation, right? So what I feel is that in these workshops that I have been, I feel that they are not really empathetic towards the other. They are basically just following the steps of the framework that they learn. And
so they got a nice little certificate that says that you can now innovate, and now let's go. Now let's apply the framework that you learned, right?
Exactly. But they will like, and I'm sorry, and they will. I'm not sorry that I use this word. Just like prostitute the word innovation, just like stick it in. And once you are in such a workshop, you will know that these people cannot deviate from the framework what they learn. They don't feel like, they are not prepared to, and especially it's just they don't really live it. So they are just really good consultants, and you will see that, you know, the people are stressed. And they say, yeah, trust the method. We have to continue. This is the next step. And then here comes the next foliant and slides, and I hope that maybe this will inspire people. And when it comes to WeSpark and how we do it, since it's like people first, it means like every single method that we use, we, you know, like take one framework or a single method and then completely adapt it. You know, like we take some steps out and put others in. We put some icebreakers in the middle, and we change one of the exercises in between or whatever. But we always think it's like, okay, what is the situation here, how is the atmosphere, who are the people that are going to be in the team, and we try to tropicalize and adapt every single example and everything to them. The best of all is that if we see that something is not working out, like within 10-15 minutes, if we have a decider, we just speak and tell them, okay, so this is where we're going, and this is still going to be really good results. But we believe that for the group and for the results, it will be better if we, like kind of change this, like this second part or like the second day. And this is what and I'm like, like using my fingers to say innovation consultants out there cannot really do. Because they are the people that go out there, learn a framework and then use it. And I believe that and every single person that is like in the WeSpark network right now that is helping me do these workshops, they think more like, okay, so it's all about enabling the people, enabling this process, creating this atmosphere. If the people are stressed, you become a sponge and you take all of this stress towards you. If the people are not energized enough, you just become like the sun and just like irradiate them with really positive energy during the whole workshop. And that's the thing that is missing. So not only like this skill and knowledge to be able to adapt the process on the spot, like while it's happening, but also to really engage the people. So, if you go with the approach people first, like, okay, you make an innovation again human-centric, then you have a recipe for success. Then I have a little example that I can add to it. The same topic, if you want to see it from a corporate level, a lot of people think that innovation is about, like the money that comes out at the end, or about the shares and how they get affected. So they would use innovation as some sort of argument, like, hey, we are innovative. Just put some VR goggles on a Metabyte, just like make some posters with somebody with a virtual reality headset, and then show, oh, we have VR virtual reality headsets in the company, therefore we are innovative, therefore shareholders, please buy, don't sell. Other people think that it's about having the resources or the processes. Others are about the KPIs. And the most common is like it's about the methods or the ideas themselves. Maybe possibly thinking that innovation is about ideas is possibly the most dangerous ones because it feels so close to it, but it's so far. And I have an example to explain why we are or most of the people are going away from the core of innovation. I say, so imagine that you're out there and you need to solve something. So you need to be innovative at this point. You need to find a new way of solving this problem because everything that you tried before didn't really check out. So you take a helmet, like it looks like a sci-fi helmet, you put it on top. This helmet has lights and a little fan, and
I saw it.
Like
it
the one
great.
from Back to the Future. Okay, imagine the duck with this like helmet.
Yeah.
And if you put it on and turn it on, then you will be innovative. And now imagine yourself that you're like all the limits that you have, they have been like moved behind the horizon of what you can see. You feel like there are no limitations. Your imagination goes beyond the skies. You're just being super creative, imaginative, innovative, as you could say. You are inventing new things, and it feels just right. So when you assume that there's a helmet that could do this, and there are people that are working on this, and have to captivate your mind, how to like boost your brains sometimes with vitamins or certain medicines, other people with hardware, whatever. You're assuming that innovation is inside of us people. Mm-hmm. It's not the helmet itself or the vitamins, is what's happening in our body that make us feel innovative. So the assumption that you do right away behind is that, okay, innovation is indeed not about the process or the money or the resources or about the ideas or about the methods or about the KPIs or shares. Innovation is about people having and reaching this state of mind that I'm talking about. So it's super easy to understand it in this way. And this is why I love, and I have on my website this little video with the helmet. Like if you will go to
at WeSpark.io.
Yeah, WeSpark.io.
Yeah, go to the website right now if you're listening to it and check it out. It's a great video and you get a feel for what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So, can we take a little break?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much for listening. I'd like to encourage you to follow the Connecting Dots podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or every other podcast player that you use. It would also help a lot if you would give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That would definitely help me to grow the podcast faster and to share the stories and learnings of the people I interview. So thank you very much, and until next time.